Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Small Town Johnstown Podcast. I'm your host, Nick, with my interviewee here, Rick Borkowski.
I think we decided you were going to say my favorite former
Oh,
professor.
yes. My favorite former professor,
Okay.
Rick.
Yeah,
He teaches media at Penn Highlands University.
exactly. Well, we would call it Penn Highlands College. We're not a university.
Oh, yes.
University is bigger.
My bad. The 4 years.
Yeah, exactly.
More expensive.
Exactly. More expensive. A lot more of your money may be required. We'd prefer to be on the less expensive side whenever possible.
Yeah. It's definitely the smarter way to go. It's the way that I went. So I like that I went this route because I got to meet you and I got to meet some other professors. We interviewed Tom last week, a couple weeks ago.
Oh, okay.
From Rising Fear. You remember we taught that one class?
Tom
here?
Getty. Yeah.
Tom Getty, yeah. That was really good.
Yeah.
So, Rick, you've been doing teaching for a long time, correct?
I have. Not. It's a smaller portion of my entire career. I'm in my mid-60s now, so
Mid-60s?
I am. I know. I look so young and vibrant. It's hard to
It's
believe.
the brown hair.
But I spent 27 years in radio and television, and then got into teaching. So full-time teaching, I'm at about 15 years now.
So what's your favorite part about teaching the younger generations at a community college?
It's just hanging out with you guys. I mean, it really is cool. I suppose I'm more like most individuals. We have a tendency to hang out with people that are more like us. So I would be hanging out with older people, and to hang out with young guys, and they're talking about video games and movies I'd probably never see, and music I don't know the artist of. It kind of keeps me young. I love to see that kind of new experience that I get to share with what they're doing. And then whatever I can share that I give to them, and we work together on different media projects and things like that to bring the two ends together.
So have you been keeping up with the young lingo too?
Probably not.
The Rizzler?
every once in a while, somebody will say something, and I'll go, "What's that? What does that mean? And I'll ask them. I'm not beyond saying I don't know what that means.
Yeah. I remember you used to ask some
that.
of us, what is that? Or I never heard that song or music, definitely.
Right. In one of my classes, I actually have a activity in interpersonal communication where I give you a list and I say, give me 5 new words and 5 old words. So old words, I get like, threshing or something that, from a century ago where that word might have been common. But then I'll get all these new words, and that's very often where I look at them and go, yeah, I've never heard of those words before. I have no idea what that means. So it's fun to learn.
Yeah, it sounds really fun to learn. I got you. It's definitely a good way to keep you young.
Yep.
So what have been some things that you've learned over your 15 years of teaching at a community college that maybe you didn't know going in?
Well, honestly, something I learn again and again and again is that we all have different learning styles. We really don't all grasp and learn and understand things in the exact same way. And that's unfortunate because in the teaching industry, we pretty much got a plan.
Yeah.
We'll have somebody stand up in front of the room and talk, and you guys sit down in the chairs and listen. It's a great plan. It'll work great, right?
I know it worked well for me.
What could possibly go wrong? And the answer is that everybody learns differently, and that's probably not the best way of learning, but it's the best way that we've got, and so we utilize that method. But when you think about it, like if I were to say, well, what's the last thing that you learned outside of school? Maybe it's this video game. Maybe it's how to fix the kitchen sink. Maybe it's how to drive. It could be any number of things, and you probably did not learn that by sitting in a classroom and listening to somebody lecture about that subject. You probably jumped in and did it, and somebody was there with you and said, try it this way, do it this way. No, this way. Very, very, a big connection between you and another person. That's probably the best way to learn, and maybe the most common way outside of school that we learn. But in school, we have a tendency to not do it that way. We say, here's the textbook, here's your quiz, here's a PowerPoint, here's me lecturing. You got it?
Yeah.
And I understand. Like I said, I feel like I learn over and over again that's not necessarily the best way for people to learn.
Yeah, I know I learned a lot, especially when you came over and helped with Adobe for the editing, and that really helped with the green screen and putting that in and everything.
Right.
I know that was a blast. Is that what you like more about community college, that it is shorter classes and it can be more one-on-one compared to a bigger, I know you said university, since this is a university, it's more, like you said, old school teach and go?
Yeah, I've taught at UPJ and IUP. IUP not official as a teacher, but because I got my master's and my PhD there, I taught some isolated classes. The biggest which was, I think, 200 people, which was just
That's a lot of people.
Coming out of the community college, it's like 200. How do I even do roll? It took me 45 minutes to do roll.
Yeah.
But they were huge, and UPJ was not as bad. But I might commonly have 30, 35 people in a class at UPJ, and I would teach at the community college, especially my major, which was specific in media production. We might have 20. We might have 15. And that's a lot more fun to deal with a smaller group when you're doing something creative like that.
Yeah.
The other end is just kind of, okay, I'll lecture you, you listen.
Yeah. You listen, I lecture you. You don't get that one-on-one connection. You don't learn
Right.
the individual and what their talents might be.
I really hate it. It doesn't happen really here at Penn Highlands, but I can remember from UPJ, I remember going through an entire class and then at the end of it thinking, which one's that? What's his name? What's her name?
Is he new? This last day.
Yeah, it would just be that in 15 weeks, I didn't get to know everybody.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't. It was just too much set up that, too much stuff we have to get through and everything's rapid fire. And if they're not good in attendance, maybe as well, I would just go through the whole semester and then think, which one are you? And I hate that. 15 weeks with somebody, I should know them pretty well.
Yeah.
I know things about you that would just blow the world away.
Like what?
Well, I don't want to say it.
Keep on the low. Those old movies. Those old movies. Keep on the low.
But I like to think we get to be friends with each other, even if I'm the old guy and you're the young student. We get to be friends and we get to share a lot of kind of adventures, going around making films and doing different projects. It's kind of fun, and I'd like to think they become somehow we bridge just being a teacher-student to becoming friends.
Yeah.
Which I think is pretty cool.
That is really good. I do like that one-on-one connection. That's why I was really happy I came to Penn Highlands or did start off at the community college because I was able to learn a lot more than compared with when I was doing it. So teaching, as you know, has evolved, especially over the past 4 years, to more virtual. Has that been an adjustment for you doing it over Zoom? Have you had a struggle maybe still getting that bond doing over Zoom and
definitely
projects?
have trouble getting that bond. I don't have trouble with Zoom. I do it very easily. I'm a TV media guy to begin with, so when it comes to being on camera or talking clearly into a microphone or whatever it might be, I'm fine with that. But I would be the first to say I would much rather be in person than on Zoom, as far as the entire educational experience goes. Having said that, Zoom is really cool. There's lots of people out there that can't get to our college regularly in order to participate. I have students that are in State College, and I'm here in Johnstown, and we meet 3 times a week or whatever, over Zoom, not in person.
Yeah.
But that helps them to achieve their goals and that kind of a thing. So I would never knock it. I would never want to go back to not having Zoom classes and virtual classes. Having said that, though, I have so much more fun when we are live, and I think the educational experience is better. But when I need to be virtual, I am. I have three. I have 3 virtual classes this semester right now, and I have 1 in-class with a virtual component. I have 4 students who are on Zoom.
The half breed classes.
Yeah. And those are folks. Honestly, those are folks that just we're kind of moving into Center County. You might be aware of. We have our primary operation is here in Richland, in suburban Johnstown, but we also have Somerset and Evansburg and Altoona, and we were in Huntington, but we closed that down in favor of Bellefonte in Center County, and then we kind of have a huge online component as well. But the 4 students I have in my public speaking class that I'm teaching in class here in Richland are in State College.
Okay.
So again, they couldn't drive down here.
Yeah, it's like a 2-hour drive.
Yeah, twice a week. We meet twice a week. That'd be crazy and not at all valuable for them to come back and forth like that. So for us to, if the option is either we can't serve you or we can serve you virtually, then sure, let's do it virtually.
So AI has become a new thing. It's growing ever so fastly. Has that been a struggle for you to handle with some of your classes?
No, I actually love it. Fan of AI. At least as it stands right now. Who knows what the future holds? I haven't seen a Terminator yet. As far as I'm aware, they haven't tried to take over yet. AI is just another tool. And in the same way that I would say, I like this tool, I want to give it up. I would say, I like word processing on a computer as compared to writing it out with a pencil and a piece of paper.
Yeah.
And I'm old enough to remember there were people that didn't want to use computers, or there are people today that don't like to use computers. But I mean, I've had students who had said, "Yeah, I don't use computers. I'll just write it out and give it to you." And students, and I would say, "No, I'm sorry. You have to put it on a computer." But I write really neat.
That's great.
No, I don't care. You've got to put it on
You
a
gotta
computer
submit
document.
online.
And, and that's a challenge for them. And it's not. I haven't had any of those recently. Almost everybody can do computer stuff now, but. Going back just not too many years, there were a lot of people that using computers was really a challenge. And I feel like I'm just seeing that again. Now there's something new. It's called AI.
Yeah.
A lot of students are struggling with that, whatever. I'm thinking, oh, this is the coolest thing ever. As far as like media production goes, there are two really fun components. One is text to video. Okay. So you talk AI and you get a picture that you want.
Ooh.
I want a picture of a guinea pig surfing on a strange planet, wearing a sombrero with 4 moons in the background. That will take AI about 30 seconds, and poof, you've got whatever you want to do with that.
Might have some extra fingers, but
yeah, that's true. The other element that's just coming up is text to video, and there's some amazing things you can see online with text to video. It's not, to my knowledge, 100% available for regular like non-commercial use yet, but within months it's probably going to be that way. And they've already had a contest where they wanted people to make a commercial with using only AI and see which one is the most fun, the most creative, and all. And these commercials are awesome. They're very good. They're very amazing. They're as good as anything I think that you'd see on the air. And they were not done with cameras. They were done with a person who has a great imagination and can type command. Show me this image. So I'm super excited about that. It's just my way of thinking. It's opening up again the ordinary folks like you and I being able to do high quality media production. Where before, when my little world began, when I was a kid, let's say, back in the 60s, there was nothing like that. There was no video, of course. Nothing was digital yet. If you wanted to
There's no video cameras in the 60s?
You could shoot. What's that?
No video cameras in the 60s?
Film cameras.
Okay.
Not video cameras.
Okay.
And like when I grew up, my dad had a film camera, and I would go around and shoot movies with it, whatever. Yeah. It didn't have sound. So you could shoot just film, and then add sound to it later or whatever. Not that any of us knew how to do that in a real way. We just have two things playing at the same time. But and that cost of the film between buying it and then developing it was back in the 60s about $1 a minute.
Oh wow.
That's a fair amount of money. Even today.
Yeah.
And now we have digital where you can shoot whatever you want. You can shoot hours and hours and hours of stuff and edit it later and then reuse what you shot. It doesn't matter. But back then it was just really expensive to have like a 5-minute film. And so I don't want to go back to that era. I'm happy that because of digital technology and digital films and things like this, the fact that we all have cameras on our phones, which is better than what TV networks were using about 15 years ago.
That's insane, right?
It's absolutely insane. We can shoot stuff as good as they shoot, or better.
4K, everything.
It's amazing, and it frees up the whole concept of media being something anybody can have and anybody can do, and that's cool. It doesn't mean that it's good. There's a lot of stuff out there I wouldn't recommend you waste your time watching. You know. But then on the other hand, look at some of the stuff that's like incredible. And we see people that, did something on YouTube and now they're got a major contract from somebody who wants them to make a regular, big budget
blockbuster film. Yeah. So do you think it's making people more creative, not making more people lazy?
Oh, definitely. I think it has taken away anybody's right to say, well, come on, I'm not Hollywood.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, I don't have the big cameras that, I
don't have the big budget
over there. Yeah, I don't have this big budget. It's just me. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is just you. And you can make something as grand and glorious as maybe what Hollywood is doing. Hollywood, of course, has more people and more experience and pull that off. But you mentioned Tom Getty. I use his films in my classes, and I'm using them right now. As a matter of fact, he did 2 major films back in, this is 2018 to 2020, I guess, somewhere in there. they look like Hollywood blockbuster films. They're absolutely
Yeah.
amazing films. They're good. They're really good. And it's pretty much just him. He wrote it. He storyboarded it. He
CGI'd
starred in it. It's like his dad is in there. His mom is in. He just got family members and people together to play the different roles that he needed. And he was so creative when it comes to the different things he did. I remember after I watched the first film, I had one question in particular. I said, "How'd you get that scene where you, the star of the movie, you're a wanted man, the FBI is looking for you, and you're running all over downtown Pittsburgh, and there are police cars everywhere. Cops are looking for you, helicopters are flying over. So how on earth did you pull that off?" And he said, "Well, it was kind of a coincidence because on the day I was in Pittsburgh, there was a police funeral.
Yeah.
All these police cars were around because of this funeral. And so he got his dad to hold the camera, and then he would run across the street, and dive in between two cars or whatever and run again. And in the background, there's 2 or 3 police cars passing, and there's 5 police cars parked on the side of the road, and he's looking around, he's running. And the video looks great. It looks like, oh my gosh, you got 1,000 extras, to help you. And in reality, he just took advantage of a natural situation. Like, oh, they're having a funeral today for a cop, and there's a lot of cars around here. I think I'll shoot the scenes I need where I'm supposed to be running from the cops.
Yeah.
And the helicopter scene is just an ordinary helicopter going overhead. But he shot it, and it looks like they're searching for him. And, so a lot of it is that creativity that says, how can I make this happen? Maybe not even on a small budget, but on no budget. He didn't pay any of those extras who were walking along the street or whatever. And you're allowed to do that because that's on the street. You can run camera.
Public.
It's public stuff. Nobody has to have sign a form to be in your film if they're just walking down a public street. But he was able to pull all these different scenes together and doing what I think is just an amazing job on that film. And he's like one guy.
Yeah.
He's one guy working back in his basement at his mom and dad's house, and he did something better than I could ever do. I'm sure.
Hey, not now.
Well, I don't know. He was just so creative and so good. And I remember him telling me, I said, "You can make a 3rd film?" And he said, "No, I'm so done with that." I am so burned out. He said, it was great. It was a wonderful experience, but man, I don't think I have any plans for a 3rd film in my life. And as you may know, what he does now is he has a business where he makes teasers for other films. So,
the trailers, yeah.
Yeah. He produces those trailers and video teasers and things like that, and that's awesome. The ones he does are great as well, and he has a lot of fun doing that. And he can sit down, I think, in an afternoon and make that.
Yeah.
Rather than I got to spend a year and a half on this film, and really, literally,
stress about getting
a
certain
year,
shots.
80 hours a week for a year and a half to pull this film together to make it happen. Well worth the effort, in my opinion, but I could understand
why he needs that mental.
How that burns you out.
Yeah. It's just so much, especially when, like you said, it's by himself.
Yeah.
It's a lot of editing, all those hours, because it goes from 80 hours a week to maybe getting 2 hours of sleep.
Yeah. You can spend, for any of our viewers who've never edited, you could spend 8 hours a day editing and come up with a really good 30 seconds of product in your 2-hour movie. It's just, it's a weird phenomenon. But it's like that, and you know that as well. You're doing something that there's always well, I could do it this way, make it a little bit better.
Yeah.
And okay, I could tweak this one frame, and it would probably look better if I did that. And I could do that. And it's like the video game trap. Once you start doing it,
you can't stop.
It's like, wow, it's been 12 hours. How about that?
Yeah.
No wonder I'm exhausted and hungry and falling asleep.
My coffee's cold.
Yeah. How did this? I just made coffee. Why is it cold? Because you get so wrapped up in it and lost in it that you don't realize how much time you're spending on it. But that's fun. I mean, if you're a nerd like us, when it comes to producing media, that's where our heart is. That's what we love to do, one way or another.
So you said you're in the news. What did you do in the news exactly?
I worked for everybody in town. Let me put it to you that way. I worked for the Tribune Democrat, I'll mention, but I was never a reporter. I did a column. I was a column writer. I did a column on what radio is doing in the area called Radioactivity. And that really helped me to know everybody in the local radio business and things like that. And the reason I say I worked for everybody, I really didn't, but I worked for one company which changed hands 4 times while I was working in it. And I was working when there was that change in the industry that went from a lot of small mom and pop radio stations to 1 or 2 owning everybody. And it's kind of like same things that happened to convenience stores. There used to be a lot of mom and pop shops on
Now
the
it's
corner.
just Dollar General.
Now it's everybody. Yeah, everybody's a Dollar General or Sheetz.
Yeah.
And you kind of can't. I mean, I don't think that's a bad thing in the sense that do low prices because they're buying in bulk so much. But on the other hand, you kind of miss also just that idea that it's a mom and pop person there. That you know for 50 years.
Yeah, that family personal connection.
That would be nice too. But radio stations and TV stations did the same thing during the Reagan era. So when I was growing up and first got into broadcasting, it was just one station, or at most you had two, because you'd have an AM/FM. And then when Reagan basically got into office, they had what was called deregulation, and that meant that the federal government will not tell you how many stations you can own. You can own as many as you want. So Clear Channel, the biggest owner, now has about 1,200 stations in the United States, quite a few, about 10% of all stations.
Oh, wow.
In the country. And there's lots of little players, which is kind of like what we have. So when I spent most of my time in Westmont working with a station called Forever, which has since been kind of bought out, and now it's Seven Mountains. But anyway, in that one little building, they have 5 FM stations and 2 AM stations. So that's the company I worked for. And I kind of did everything imaginable there, but I was primarily a news person. I was hired to do news back in the 80s. And I did all this crazy news stuff. And then it would be like, well, I think we want to use you to put you on the air. We want you to be an announcer, too. So I became an announcer. I became an announcer, for example, on Froggy, the country station, and I hate country music. It's quite challenging to be upbeat and be happy. And
that was a great Tim McGraw song.
Yeah, awesome song. I hate country music. It's just,
why do you hate country
just
music?
Me. I don't know. I guess it's just kind of what you're raised on and what you do. And I love pop music. I love kind of classic rock. I love stuff like that. And there's a lot of country music that's okay. If you look at like my playlists on Spotify, you'll find 20 country songs, whatever. Okay. Maybe I can't even think, but they're just the random ones that I go, oh, that's pretty cool, and I take that one. But the average country song, it just makes my skin crawl. I just hate that whining. I lost my girl, and I'm getting in the old pickup truck to go. Yeah, let's do some fishing, and it just doesn't work for me. It doesn't appeal to me. And you think it might, in the sense that, as you know, country music made a major switch from country western, maybe what I was aware of when I was back in the 60s, to kind of what we call pop country. It sounds so much like what pop we music. Might call rock and roll or pop music. It's hard to tell the difference sometimes. But you listen, there's a banjo, or there's, some other instrument that just kind of sounds country. But anyway, that's what I did at the radio stations. Was I did this too. I did the interview thing. Our AM station we had 2 AM stations that were talk radio, and I hosted the morning talk show for, I don't even know, probably 10, 15 years or something, a long time.
Oh, wow.
So I did all kinds of interviews there. The ones I liked the most, if I may, were authors of books. I had all kinds of, I got on their mailing list somehow. I'm not sure how, but if somebody's coming out with a new book, they would send something to me and say, hey, want to interview this guy? And I go, oh, that's interesting. I'm kind of like that, And so I ended up doing so many of those. I started saving them after a while. I have more than 1,000 saved. So I know I have done more than 1,000 interviews with authors, many of which, I'm going to say the majority, I really don't know because I never counted, but many of them are New York Times best-selling authors. They're very, very big authors. The one I always mention that's kind of my personal favorite is Dean Koontz. Do you know Dean Koontz at all?
I do not know Dean Koontz.
He has, he's one of those people that they've made several of his books into movies and that kind of thing.
Dune?
No, not Dune. But he and his stuff is worldwide, international best.
Well, what kind of books has he written?
He's actually from Bedford.
Oh, wow.
And so when I said, hi, I'm from Johnstown, he goes, oh, Johnstown. He thought that was really cool. He said when he met his wife and they started dating, they would go to the big city to go out on a date.
Was
the
that
big
Johnstown?
city was Johnstown.
Because Johnstown's the big city?
If you're in Bedford,
Oh yeah,
and you don't want to drive all the way to Pittsburgh or something like that. But it would be nice to have a city that has a theater
yeah.
that you can watch films, or maybe more shopping or more restaurants. And yeah, Johnstown was the big city.
I guess for around that time,
But
I can see that.
He's from this area. He's got all kinds of books I could throw at you, and I don't know if you know him or not, but my favorite series that he does is called Odd Thomas.
Okay.
And Odd Thomas is a character who his mom and dad named him Todd Thomas, but the T doesn't work on the typewriter at the hospital. And so it comes out Odd Thomas. And his first line is like, "My name is Odd Thomas. I've lived an unusual life." And it's because he's kind of psychic. He sees dead people.
Oh.
And in his world, one of the things I thought was so fun is that, if you think about the biological world of animals and people and things, there's a million species, right? I mean, there's not just one.
Oh, to my insects too?
Yeah, insects, and there's just millions of species. Well, in the spiritual world, there are also millions of spiritual species. There's not just a ghost, somebody who died and is still hanging around. There's just all kinds of weird demon creatures that that come and feast on fear, and all kinds of things like this. And he sees them and deals with them as best he can. And his life is very chaotic, but he's a great character.
So he writes kind of like kids' books or teen books?
No, those are all adult books.
Okay.
They're adult. They're as a matter of fact, one of the fun conversations we've had is that he'll say the problem with the industry is that they want everything to fit into a genre. Yeah. So his publishers have come to him and said, "Look, Dean, I don't know if you're writing a horror story or a science fiction story or a romance, but figure it out and just give me that." And he would say, "No, it's all three." Yeah. He would have some kind of weird paranormal thing, but it's actually a science experiment that went wrong in Russia, and there's that connection to it,
And then it's the scientist and the investigator.
Yeah, they're in love, and it's really interesting how he pulls different genres together and makes things happen, and I think that's so much fun.
Yeah, that is very unique. I mean, I haven't read many books, so I don't know if that's a common thing in the book world, but it does sound very cool and interesting. I might have to check those books out.
More people have a tendency, I think, to stick to their genre. The other thing I'll mention, as long as we're talking about books, I have so much fun with many authors, and in my thoughts, the really good ones. When they're writing their stories, the characters come alive in their head. Mm-hmm. They're not just, I think I'll make this character and his name will be Bill and he's a police officer, and it's not like that. It's really, they really become 100% alive, and they will argue with you. They will, you say, well, this is where I think Bill will do this, and Bill in your head goes, I wouldn't do that.
That's not me, you know that.
Don't do that. And it's so weird that this could happen. And I heard about this from one or two authors, and it just kind of fascinated me. And I found out, this is not an isolated thing. This is a really, really common thing. And Dean has that. Dean will say, a creature will like pop into his head and say, I wouldn't do that.
Okay.
So it's like your unconscious, I guess, that created this being is now telling you what this being would do and what this being would say.
Yeah.
One example, there's a woman I talked to, and she's one of those women that goes by her initials because she writes kind of very graphic, violent kind of horror movies or books, and that's kind of not accepted. If you're a woman, it's kind of like, well, only men do that. We can't.
Maybe back then, it might be a little bit more accepted now.
Well, according to her, no.
Oh, okay.
She would still say, no, I'm gonna present myself with my initials, so people will actually look at my books and not automatically dismiss me. But the story she told me was she had this whole story lined up, and here was this police detective and trying to track down this serial killer, and she I didn't believe she was a female main character as well. She tracked down this serial killer in a swamp, and she's got a gun on him, and she says, "You're coming back with me. You're going to be arrested. You're going to face prison time for your crimes." And the guy says, "What are you talking about? You know I'm going to get off. I got all kinds of money. I'll get the best lawyers. I'll spend 6 months, 3 months in a prison. I'll be gone, and then I've got a lot more victims out there. You wait and see." And she's writing this down. She's thinking, that's true. That's what often happens to these bad people. They get out. They don't get back in. What should my main character do? and a voice comes into her head and says, "I would shoot the bastard." And she goes, "No, my character is on the good side.
Yeah.
They're the good people,
Like Batman.
They
Don't
don't,
kill.
yeah, they don't hurt anybody unless they're stopping crime, and they would never shoot anything." And the voice in her head goes, "Shoot the bastard," and she's like, "No, I can't." And she wrestled with this for like days. This voice was just in her head, and she finally typed it, and she shot the guy dead. And she sent it off to her publisher. The publisher liked it. They published the book. The book sold well. And she said the most common comment I get is, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe she killed him at the end of the book. That was so incredible to me. That was the best part of the book. I went, Yahoo!" When I learned this like scumbag was going to be killed or whatever. And she thinks in part because leading up to that, in her mind, the character was a goody two-shoes who's never going to just randomly kill somebody. But this guy was painted as being really, really bad. And then she finally just says, "Kill the bastard."
Yeah.
And that was it.
Just take him out.
And
Let's end it.
And to mention one more real quick,
No, you good?
go see the movie The Man Who Invented Christmas.
Okay.
You might have heard about that. It's the story of Charles Dickens.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, Charles Dickens had this, supposedly, according to his writings, had the same kind of experience. When he wrote the whole Christmas story with Ebenezer Scrooge, Ebenezer Scrooge was not going to turn around. He was going to die a horrible man. And that was kind of the moral of the story. You live this way, you die this way. What do you think happens to him, But the Ebenezer Scrooge character kept on coming back to him and saying, after these ghostly appearances, I would repent.
Yeah.
I would turn around and I'd be different. And he kept on saying, "No, that's not the plan. That's not the plan." And in the movie, these characters actually come to life and argue with him. And it's so much fun to watch it. And then realize that this is a real thing with publishers. And in the end, of course, the story. Ebenezer Scrooge
turns around
and
away.
says, "Merry Christmas, God bless us all," and
have a good night.
And that's it. And it's a super popular book, one of the most popular books in American
Ebenezer
history.
Scrooge probably was like, "I don't want to go out this way. You better make me look good. This book's gonna be very popping."
Exactly. So that's a fun. I actually did a research project in college about that as well. Because I just think that phenomena is like really fun.
So, do they see the character too, or do you think they just hear the voice?
In the people I spoke to, they would hear the voice, but not in any weird supernatural way, or not in a paranormal kind of way.
Yeah.
Just that as they're riding along and things would pop into their head that he would say this, and then the other person would say this. That voice would come on and say, "I wouldn't say that."
Yeah, I got you.
I would say, they just pops into their head and they think I wouldn't do that. And that's the unconscious at work. I'll tell you another real quick unconscious story, going back to my friend Dean Koontz. He was in the middle of writing a story. He usually writes a story, gets it done, he puts it away. He never reads his own stories.
Okay.
After it's published, he says he's got like ADHD where it's like, I don't care about
torture.
that story. I've got to move on to something else. He's never gone back and read his old stories. He always writes something new. And he never writes something new until this one is done. He's just kind of fixated that way. Well, he was writing a story, and in the middle of it, he stopped, and he got another piece of paper, and he started hammering out this other story. And it was so weird to him. He's like, "I never do this. Why do I do this?" And the other story he wrote out was Odd Thomas.
Okay.
So he got Odd Thomas done, and he said, "That was weird. I've never done that before." He went back, got this other story done, right? He's kind of all ready to move on. And he's really, really interested in going back and reading his first Odd Thomas. He's like, "What? Why am I doing this? I never go back and and read my old stories." But he did this time, and when he did it, he saw 7 places for sequels.
Oh, okay.
And he's never written a sequel in his life. No Dean Koontz story ever is a sequel of another story.
So Odd Tom.
Until we get to Odd Thomas,
Okay.
and there's like 7 of those, I think. but he said he read that first story, and he goes, "Oh my gosh, that's his backstory, and this is part of his backstory, and that's a whole other story right there." And he read a few more pages, and he goes, "That's another story," and he ended up doing that. He ended up doing a series, the only time he's ever done a series. But that's another example of what the unconscious does. We have such a powerful unconscious that I think if we tap into, we'll be better off.
Yeah, the brain works in a very mysterious ways that obviously nobody can really comprehend at the moment, or else we wouldn't know.
Right.
Like, did the brain call itself the brain? I don't know.
Yeah, people say things, "Oh, my brain hurts." And you think, wait, who said that?
Yeah.
Isn't that your brain that's talking?
My brain's telling me that's hurting.
But yeah, you're right. We don't know how that works. And knowing that we are a product of evolution, of course, we kind of, you could almost say everything we have is because it helps us to survive in the environment that we're in. So we have 2 eyes for stereoscopic vision,
Okay.
right? We have a nose with 2 nostrils, so I can tell which direction a scent is coming from.
I didn't know that.
We have toes to keep us balanced.
Yeah.
If you didn't have toes, you'd walk funny. You wouldn't be able to, really
Like a duck,
balance.
right?
Yeah, exactly. So everything we have, the fact we have 2 feet and 2 arms, is all works to help us to survive in the environment. The environment is a very dangerous place, right? So whose plan was it? Is this nature? Is this God? But whose plan was it that we would be unconscious a third of every day in something we call sleep? What?
Well, we're passed out.
That's crazy, right? Because there's all these dangerous creatures that could attack us. And we could at least be like, they say sharks don't really sleep, but they go into a low metabolism kind of thing where they keep on swimming.
Yeah.
A shark never stops swimming. They keep on swimming and their eyes are open. So they miss rocks and stuff like that, but they're kind of asleep. You think maybe we could do that, but we don't. When we sleep, we're out. And you would think that's dangerous.
Yeah. Well, I've done some things like where I'm like half asleep, and I somehow walking. You might, if you're really tired, just doze off. Like, how did I get down 5th Street so easily? It's on 3rd Street.
That's true.
And you wonder, hopefully, thank God there's no cars going by.
Right. That is almost another phenomena other than sleep, because people will say that it's almost like you're in a hypnotic state.
Yeah.
Like you can be driving a car and you're thinking about this, you're thinking about that, and all of a sudden you're 20 miles later than where you thought you were. It's like, what happened?
The turn's here?
Yeah, and because you're driving, it's muscle memory and things like that, and you go into this kind of mode where, sure, there's part of your brain that's staying on the road and obeying traffic signals and, only going when the light is green and all these other kind of things. But you're really in another state, and you're kind of thinking about other things, and all of a sudden you wake up and you go, wait, I'm in Ohio? When did this happen? That happens too.
Yeah, well, I also wonder how sleepwalking works. What about your brain makes you get up and look around and be functional?
Yeah.
So the brain is a very unique muscle.
It is bizarre that the brain exists. Well, many people have said the brain is kind of like nature's experiment. Like, I'll give some creatures fast legs. I'll give other creatures the ability to fly. These primates called humans, I'll give them a big brain. I don't know what else.
Yeah, they'll know how to
them.
build.
Yeah, because we really don't have much else. We don't have the kind of fingernails that would actually work in a fight with a bear or something.
We don't have the strength as
something
gorillas.
Yeah, we can't run fast. Can't run faster than a cheetah that's chasing you or whatever. We technically have no chance of survival on this planet, and yet we're the apex.
Yeah,
or we're the number one species on this planet.
Because we can build a bow and arrow.
Because we can even pick up a club,
a rock.
I mean, if you've probably seen the movie 2001: A Space Odyssey, and in there we have these supposedly like primates, early humans, and the first one, the monkey, we kind of see him pick up a rock and just let it fall, and he kind of like, huh. And he hits it again, and within 30 seconds he's bashing, the remains, the bones of some extinct creature or something. He's just bashing it to dust because he's discovered I can pick up this stick and be a lot more formidable of an opponent than I was before. Mm-hmm. And of course, in that movie, it's all about because aliens were there and gave you superior mental strength. But so we don't necessarily think that happened. But nature. Or God, said, yes, you're going to have a big brain. Let's see what you do with it. And we kind of took over the planet.
Yeah, for better or for worse.
For better or sometimes for worse. Hopefully, ultimately for better.
Yeah, hopefully. That's what you would hope, for better. But So, you've been in Johnstown your whole life. And your quote, not mine.
Not quite, but okay.
Oh, well, how long have you been in Johnstown for then?
I came here, I was born and raised in Erie, as was my wife. And then so we came here in 84. So whatever that would be, 34.
It's like 40 years ago.
Yeah. That sounds about right.
About 40-ish years ago.
So, spent my childhood elsewhere, but
most of your adulthood life.
Pretty much my adulthood I've spent here.
So how have you seen Johnstown evolve or change throughout those 40 years? Do you think it's gotten better? Do you think it's gotten worse? Do you think there's places for improvement?
No, it's already perfect.
Yeah?
No, I think there's a lot of room for improvement. And I don't know by what barometer you use, but our population is
Decreasing.
very, very small. It was, I'm not a guy with numbers, but I can tell you this number. When I came to town, the population of Johnstown was 28,134. That was like the 1980 census, which, working in news, I did some kind of a story where I had to have that number, and I saw it posted 20 times. And so it's with me now forever. I know that number, 128,000. And the last I looked, I don't remember if it was like the maybe the 2000 census or something, but I think we're like 11,000.
We lost 17,000 people.
Yeah, we lost a lot of people. And not only us, but Cambria County itself and the surrounding counties. So in that sense alone, we've really gotten smaller. We have that brain drain phenomenon they talk about where people look around and go, well, I guess I'll move somewhere else. And so they take their brain with them.
Yeah.
And that's not necessarily the best thing for us. Having said that, I love Johnstown. It's just a beautiful community. I feel like there's friendly people. I would rather be in a small town than a big town.
There's a great outside recreation.
Yeah, very much so.
I just wish there's a little bit more inside stuff here to do, but
right,
we're getting there. Getting there. So what are some things like to do for fun around Johnstown then?
Well, let me think. We go, what's the name of that place? It's the 814 video court. Yeah, at the moment that's like a big thing for my family. We just think that's so much fun. Yeah. We go there and eat and then play all these crazy video games and different things like that is a lot of fun. Not so much now that I'm older, but for a long time there we were going out on hiking and biking.
Yeah.
We were really into that kind of a thing for a while, and that was fun as well. And otherwise than that, nothing stands out that's super big, but we'd go see movies and
eat your Panera.
We'd do shopping. We'd eat a Panera. I'm still a Panera person.
Still, there's people that left Panera.
I never left. No, I was just thinking that's the last time you and I. The last time you and I talked. We like Panera because this program is brought to you by Panera.
Panera. Don't drink their teas though.
You like their teas?
No, the energy teas. They're really shocked up with that.
They are. Yeah, I did hear that. I never drink those, but they do have the Sip Club.
Yeah.
So you buy the Sip Club and you have all the drinks you want. Every 2 hours you can get another drink, and so my wife and I always go there and get a couple Pepsis or something and a donut, and it's a date for us.
Yeah.
In the big town, to do something like that. But things like that, I suppose, is what I do.
Yeah. Do you remember our one class for TV writing where we did that whole game show and the audio wasn't recording?
The audio was not recording.
It was such a good episode. It was really fun.
Awesome.
It was an amazing episode.
Who can I blame that on? Oh, no, I guess I was the teacher. I should have been the one.
How's the audio? It's good.
I should have been the one doing that. I once had we were doing another kind of scene. I think I had 3 or 4 people doing a scene. I had 3 guys with cameras who were capturing it. Mm-hmm. And the one guy came up to me to talk a little bit afterwards, and I looked at him and I said, so I just happened to notice this, but do you notice there's no mic on your camera? And he kind of looks at it and goes, oh. And we lost all of his video because we didn't have a mic on it. And when when you're outside shooting, you don't usually have headphones on, but you probably should have headphones.
You should have
in
headphones
there
on now. No,
hear that sound. But I didn't insist on headphones or anything. I just told everybody to shoot the scene from different angles. We'll put it all together and all that kind of stuff. And his was completely dead. With no audio at all. So that's happened more than once. That's happened.
I mean, I remember when we used the cameras, we would be recording, storage full, halfway through. I'm oh, well, there goes that footage.
Yeah. Take the next, hour of your life to open up that camera and look at the memory and delete everything from before last month, because we probably don't need anything from 4 years ago, but it does fill up those cameras sometimes pretty
Sure.
And the computers themselves will be in the computer lab. I've had students working in the computer lab, and they're trying to download a piece of video, and they'll go, it says the server's full. I can't download this video. And I'm like, what? Because it's not like we have a huge amount of space on every computer, but there's quite a bit. But if we don't clean them off, like, I don't know, maybe at the end of every year or
semester,
the end of a couple of years go by, they fill up. They really do. And all of a sudden you're looking at what's on there, and it's like, oh, I remember that guy. He was here like 4 years ago.
See ya.
And you realize that the video is still there, taking up space.
Yeah.
And you've got to clean it off and get rid of it.
Sorry, brother, but your video's gone.
Yeah. Thanks. Oh. Thanks for what you do, but you're gone. I usually try to save stuff I think is really good. And I have a Dropbox, so I kind of just transfer it to Dropbox, and I have so much stuff on there I've never looked at. Again, I've never had a need to. But very often I think, hey, I'm doing the same project this year that I did last year. I'd like to go back and look at last year's and pull out a couple of really good examples and say, look what these people did last year. You can do this.
Ever used some of my videos?
And that worked. Never used any of yours, no. No, I'm kidding. I'm just kidding. Of course I did. You were always a stellar student. Yeah.
What was your favorite class you had me for?
Practicum.
Practicum?
Practicum is where you get to make an entire film on your own, kind of, We usually start it in a previous class. We start it in video production, where you make the title slide. I think you did that, the title parts of it, and then you put together the rest of the film later. That's always one of my favorite classes. And then, oddly enough, the first class we have.
I do like that first
Introduction to Production.
Yeah.
And it's fun because I kind of try to jam a lot of stuff into it, so that the student is hit with the idea that oh wow, I just made a lot. I just made a 30-second commercial for a resort in the past 20 minutes, and it looks pretty good. I feel like I can detect.
You give them some hope.
Their hope. They sit down sometimes
confidence
before the computer and think, oh, this is so hard. I'll never be able to do this. And then in half an hour, you got a commercial made. So I like to think that helps.
I really I felt that confidence when I did the radio class. And we did the DJ thing with the DJ song. That was really fun. I really liked the radio class.
We did that. That was last year, I think, right? That you did it.
No, it might have been the year before.
Not last Christmas.
But last year.
Christmas of 23.
Yeah.
The reason I say that is because I wanted to tell you, we broadcast that on Pop 104, one of the stations I used to be associated with, so I contacted them years ago and said, hey, why don't you guys let us, the college, do a Christmas show? And they said, okay. This year we did 6 hours.
6 hours?
Yeah. Last year we did 3. And they thought, you guys sound good. You guys are really doing a nice job with this Christmas show. How would you feel about 3 hours or 6 hours? And I said, sure, whatever you want. 6 hours. What am I?
I don't have enough students for these 6 hours.
And the only thing really that was different was they said, we talked it over a little bit, and what was decided was we would do 3 hours Christmas Eve, 3 hours Christmas Day.
Okay.
So the only thing that was different was our two hosts. We always have a male and a female host. They talked about, thanks for spending your Christmas Eve with us, and thanks for, and then the next day they'd, it'd be different songs and things like that. But then they'd be saying, well, hope you had a wonderful Christmas Eve. Thanks for spending part of your Christmas day with us. Here's another song. And they would kind of divide it up that way.
Yeah, I remember it being kind of the Polar Express, right, with the trains? Or was that one theme? Was that just one theme 1 year?
That was the theme 1 year.
Yeah.
See, we had a little bit of a change because originally we couldn't use any licensed music. And so everything we did had to be original.
Yeah.
So we always had these themes, going to Santa's workshop or the train, something like that. And just, this would just be the second year now. This would be the third year coming up. They told us we're now playing music on our AM station, which is one of the two places that it aired. And so, and of course it goes on Pop, which is also licensed. So now you guys can play licensed music. So now our Christmas shows are, This Is, here's Bing Crosby, here's Mariah Carey, here's the Beach Boys, and you just sing all those old, you do all those Christmas songs.
The classics.
So it's kind of easier than to come up with we
had the right scripts that one year, I remember.
Yeah, a 3-hour docudrama about going to Santa's workshop. Some of those were kind of intense.
Yeah.
We were happy to do them. It was a good experience and it was fun, but It's a little bit more fun to just put together pre-recorded songs and write the parts where they talk
Yeah, the
afterwards.
gap in between.
In and out, yeah. That's fun.
That's really fun. I had a lot of fun in all your classes.
The other thing I'll tell you, we've never done before, brand new thing. We did a 1-hour Christmas show for WJAC-TV.
Oh.
Another one of my former employers.
Yeah.
And that was fun because they contacted me and they said, you know how you do that Christmas show every year for radio? And I said, yeah. And they said, you want to do one for us? And I said, yeah. What's going on? And every year they had always done what they called choir something.
Okay.
I forget the name for it. Choir Christmas?
Sure.
Christmas, something like that. We'll call it that.
We can run with it.
And basically they arrange for choirs to perform and they record them and then they play it on the air.
Okay.
And they've done that for years. They had issues with that for a couple of years because of the pandemic. Their building was closed.
Yeah.
Most schools were closed. I mean, for outsiders, you couldn't get in there. And even after the world was kind of getting back to normal, a lot of schools would still say, no, we don't. We're trying to cut back on outsiders coming in. You could still spread
diseases,
the virus
COVID.
and such. Yeah. So they really had a rough time fulfilling that goal of recording choirs. And then somebody said, maybe this should be a community college project. Let's let them coordinate it and them do it and stuff like that. So they contacted me and I said, yeah, let's do it. And so we did it. And they were very pleased with it. And I'm hoping it will become a regular thing.
A staple.
There'll be an hour-long TV show every year. And so what we do is we record choirs. We have pastors, priests, and such kind of do Christmas messages, and we put that all together.
So did they come here, or do you go out?
We went out there.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah. So we wanted to record the choir in the sanctuary.
There. Yeah.
It looked really cool that way.
Better than
better than our media lab in front of the green screen or something. I don't know.
In front of this, yeah.
Right here. That looks Christmassy.
Yeah.
Sure. But no, we went out there and we would set up a multi-camera system. We'd have a switcher and the choir would sing and we'd go back and forth between different shots and things like that, and do some post-production editing if needed. But that's how we captured songs.
Oh, it's really cool.
And it was a really neat project. After so many years of a audio Christmas show, it was pretty wild to do a video Christmas show, and that was fun.
Did you ever end up doing the movie theater 50-year, 100-year anniversary video, or?
We did not.
Oh,
well, we never were making a video per se.
We were just doing suggestions.
We were doing the what are called interstitials,
okay.
like a 30-second commercial that runs before the movie.
Yeah,
would come on and it would say, "Hey, Richland Cinemas is celebrating 75 years." Blah blah blah. And when we originally talked to Ed about that, Ed Troll is the proprietor of Richland Cinemas.
Yeah.
He was going to do a really big Shazam for the 75th. Party.
Anniversary.
As time went on and things changed, and we still have a weird situation in the theater industry, he said we're going to be low key. We're not going to do anything big key at all.
Okay.
So we made them, but they never were seen.
That stinks.
Yeah, I felt bad. I understand where he's coming from too. He kind of it's not a situation where you want to maybe call attention to the theater industry when it's hurting a little bit. Let's give it more time and see if it stabilizes.
Yeah.
And theaters kind of become a big thing again in the world, where at the moment we might say because of the pandemic they've been off. A little bit.
Yeah.
All
right. Well, thank you very much for coming on again. Thank you
very
for all
happy.
the stories. That was very, very nice, very entertaining stories.
Well,
very informative stories too, especially the AI and your overview and all of that.
I kind of get a kick out of thinking that you were a student, you were trapped listening to my lectures before, and you probably thought, never have to do that again. I'm out of here now.
Hey, I volunteered for this one, okay?
This one, you asked me to come and lecture you for an hour, so that's on you. But I appreciate what you and your wife are doing with this show and helping to promote Johnstown and giving people a kind of an insight into different things, maybe the college, maybe a business, and, know your hometown a little bit better.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully you can spread out a good message. Hopefully you can make it more positively talked about, especially by people from Johnstown.
Yeah.
And really change it. We really want to get past flood.
Yeah. It's a shame sometimes we are only known
Yeah.
Oh yes, that's the flood city, right?
That happened 100 years ago.
Yeah, we've grown up since then. It's kind of neat to have it in the weird sense that it's like it's nice to be known for something.
Yeah.
I just wish it was maybe more positive than death and destruction. But there is some mental energy there that people. Oh yeah, Johnstown. I know about Johnstown.
Yeah.
That's not half bad. But let's make Johnstown known for more positive things.
More positive things. Entrepreneurship, small businesses, all that.
Yeah.
Well, again, thank you for coming on. This is Nick from Small Town Johnstown. We hope you guys enjoyed listening to this episode or watch this episode. Do you want to give any shout outs or anybody can follow you or promote anything?
If you'll let me, I'll give a plug for Penn Highlands.
Yeah, of course.
I'm biased, of course, so you guys can accept that. But Penn Highlands is a great school. It has awesome programs, not just media production, which is clearly the best, but it has many other programs as well. Education should be a permanent thing in your life. It shouldn't be something that you gave up in high school, or maybe you got a little bit of college. But always learn more, and a college is a great way to do that. And Penn Highlands is a great college and a great place to be. So come join us. Come join the media program, or do something else at Penn Highlands, and we'll get to know each other.
Thank you guys again for listening, and hope you guys have a good day.
Bye.